I guess it's time to get her done, eh?
Yeah, just a little bit. Hi, I wanna be a cowboy, baby. Kira.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Don't forget to replace your scrub father once a month. Emily.
And welcome back to Gremlins by Nature.
The podcast where we talk about dumb shit and our opinions on it,
Yeah,
slash whatever comes to mind.
Just shooting the shit.
Shooting the shit. What are we talking about today, Kira?
We're talking about one of my more favorite subjects,
Mm-hmm.
comics. Webcomics,
Hell yeah.
mangas, or mangas, however you want to pronounce it. I probably butchered
Who
it.
knows? Who knows? We'll never know. Who's gonna know? How are they gonna know?
They'll never know.
Just the people that listen to this podcast might know.
Yeah. And any form of, like, drawn media that involves text, like, you know, y'all know what comics are.
If we have to explain it to you, this probably isn't the episode for you to listen to. We're fine with you coming back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we had initially, when we do our little bit of pre-planning that goes into these episodes, that there is, and by little bit I mean a little bit.
Like about 12 hours of planning.
Yeah, maybe
Beforehand.
Yeah, we pick a topic and then maybe figure out what happens from there. We discussed putting out. We'll just talk about our top 5 comics.
Mm.
Neither one of us were able to narrow it down to only 5.
No. I have under 10, I think.
Oh, I don't. Well, because at first I was like, oh, webcomics. So my brain immediately went, all right, webtoons, tapas,
Okay, I
any
lied,
BLs
12.
and stuff. Right? Yeah. And then y'all decided at supper just before we recorded this to tell me that manga count, which makes sense because they're also comics, just written in a different language. And so then that added to my list. And yeah, so I technically have like a top 5 written down and honorable mentions and then currently reading. But to be completely honest, they're not even like my top 5. They are 5 that I very much enjoy, but they're like, I like all of them so much. Like each one that I have written down to mention is like completely different vibes from the next. So,
like, I have thoroughly enjoyed all of the ones that are in my, like, top and, like, on the lists in general.
mm-hmm.
It's just that some of them I have been, they've either been on, like, a hiatus or I've stopped reading it purely because I got too busy or distracted by other media.
Yeah, that's fair. Most of the ones on mine are actually still ongoing, and that I find is one of the biggest things for me is I very much am somebody who would rather wait the 2 years for it to finish and be able to binge the entire thing than to be reading it consistently. Like 9 times out of 10, the ones on this list that are all still ongoing, I'll forget about for like a few months, and then I'll go back and get caught up, and then I'm like, oh, great, I'm caught up, that's amazing. Then I forget about it again for another few months.
Which, it's nice to have, like, a little, like, comic binge session when, like, you get around to it.
Hell yeah. Some of the, we had the back and forth a little bit before we started recording as well of like, are we specifying digital comic or are we going to talk about like physical comics? But even if, for example, a few of the ones both of us have on our lists, actually we haven't shared our lists with each other because we kind of wanted to be surprised because Kira and I have never actually talked to each other about, we've talked about some comics here and there that we've read and things like that, but we haven't really talked about our favorites to each other. So we wanted to do it blindly and see if any of ours just happened to line up, and then also to be like, okay, now that you know them, you have to go read these.
Yeah. Like, there's one on my list, or that I have read and, like, have been attempting to catch up on that isn't on my list.
Oh, okay.
But I have a feeling we both read it.
Probably. I think it is currently number 1 on my top 10 or top 5 if it's the one I'm thinking of.
I have a very strong suspicion it is.
Probably. So some of them, anyway, to backtrack a little bit, some of these are physical copies, some of these are webcomics, some of them are ones that started as webcomics and are now physical comics.
A good portion of mine.
A good portion of them. Actually, one of mine is a podcast that got turned into a comic book. So, not that I think that is potential for us, but I think that's cool that they're able to do that.
I think it's real cool.
Yeah. Also, hint and props to anybody who can guess what that one's about to be, but not many podcasts get turned into comics. But anyway, so
you can find it at your local Kohl's or Indigo or whatever you want.
Yes, also to our fellow Americans, we are Canadian, so we have Kohl's and Indigo, which
and
I
we
didn't
also do have
realize-
chapters.
True. True. But I didn't realize that Indigo was like strictly a Canadian thing.
Yeah, no. I think in the States they have Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, they definitely have Barnes and Noble, and like we have a few of those here in Canada.
Do we?
Yeah, in BC there was one. I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we had like in the bigger cities of Canada, I think we have one or two. But I was listening to a podcast, I think, and they were like looking at something online and they're like, "Oh, it's only available at Indigo." Like, what the fuck is Indigo? And I was like,
how do you not know what Indigo is?
That's where we get our fix. That's like anyway. So what do you say? Do you want to start out going over some of yours? Or do you want me to start?
I think I want to hear some of your tops.
From me?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I have this written in top 5, but I'm actually gonna completely read this out of order because I added more as we were sitting at supper tonight before we recorded.
Should specify that just because we read them in a specific order does not mean that like
it's a top 5 in air quotes, but in no particular order.
Yeah, like we love them all equally. It's just that like these are particularly like the set that was like if we're gonna recommend these to like any of our friends, this is
the set that we're gonna recommend. I'm actually gonna start with the few that are finished.
Okay.
Which now that I double check this, it is only 2 on my list of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh, okay, we had this like a similar amount. That's
we
not
actually
bad.
had a similar.
Okay.
So the 2 that I have that are finished are actually 2 of the first webtoon specific that I found them on. Webtoon specific comics that I read. I wasn't a huge reader growing up because I always used to get forced to do it in school. So like personal time, I hated it. So I was like, why would I want to do this? But now I'm like, gimme. Anyway, the first one, which is finished, and I have completely read the entire thing, is called Freaking Romance. And I'm 100% going to pronounce some of these artists' handles or names wrong. We are going to put out a thing on Twitter and probably Instagram and tag what artists we can find. So if it sounds interesting to you, you can go check it out and take a look at it. So the first one is called Freaking Romance. I found it on Webtoon. I'm sure it's other places as well, by Snail Lord. I love the handle, by the way. I'm just going to pull up a little synopsis here. I don't want to talk too much about each one, but this one was really cute. So it is a sexy supernatural story about being out on your own, finding your dream apartment, and discovering that your new place is haunted by a handsome spectral stranger from another dimension. Sure, he can't see you and you can't touch him, but who said every relationship starts out perfectly? It is so cute. And I don't want to get too in depth into all of them, but like it's kind of one of those funny moments where like you find media in times of life when you need it, because I had found this one when I first kind of moved up on my own and was doing my own thing, and that's very much like what the main character is doing. She's getting away from toxic family and like finding her own and really like doing her own thing and figuring out like who she wants to be in the world. And it's just, there's just some really good funny moments in it, and yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. So there's that one. And then there's also Siren's Lament, which is a very interesting one. That one's also finished. It is by, I missed this one when I was writing down, so I just have to once again go find it. Guys, we're always so prepared. I'm so proud of us.
We're not frantically searching around any rooms ever.
Never.
No,
I'm ready to go.
have a whole docket beside me at all times.
Yeah, we just have filing cabinets next to us with all the information. We're ready to go.
I am a filing cabinet.
I wish my brain was a filing cabinet. It can't keep shit organized. Siren's Lament is by Instant Miso? I'm going to assume.
Like the soup?
I guess so. Also, if we pronounce any of your names wrong, if you happen to ever listen to this podcast, please tell us. So this one is finished. This is one that kind of fell under the trap of it was ongoing when I started reading it, forgot about it, and just realized now that it's finished when I went to go look it up for this podcast. So this one is content with her ordinary life. Lyra is somewhat of a wallflower. However, her comfortable lifestyle suddenly goes astray when she accidentally plunges into the world of sirens. Entangled in a curse, Lyra will learn that her world may be a lot bigger than she had ever imagined. So the premise of that one is, yeah, she's this, spunky younger woman who is living her life and doing her own thing, and ends up learning all about sirens and has a bit of an encounter, and I won't describe anything more than that because it might give away some shit about the comic. So if that intrigues you, go check it out. Again, the characters are really well done in this one. One of the main males that she meets pretty early on, he's very spunky and like very sassy, and I loved that immediately about him. But yeah, so those are probably my top, not my top two, but those are my first two that I will mention. And then I'm going to pass over to you, let you mention a few.
Okay, so I realized as you were speaking of your comic, I forgot one of my absolute favorites, and if I didn't mention it, I'm gonna have a conniption.
Okay.
So, and I had to quickly search it up. I'm like,
I did see the aha moment as I was mid-sentence, and I was like, oh, she just thought of something.
I was listening. I
promise. No, I know. We can multitask. I get that.
So, one, probably the first, webcomic that I, really got into, peak, I honestly have, no words to describe this. But, so it goes by the title of A Red Tail's Dream.
Oh.
And it is by the wonderful Mina Sundberg. I probably butchered it. She's Finnish, so okay. I'm gonna butcher the name. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
And it is a finished comic right now. It was probably it was ongoing when I was reading it in, I want to say 11th grade.
Okay.
But I was catching the tail end of it.
Right.
So, A Red Tail's Dream is a Finnish folklore story.
Oh,
and,
hell yeah.
It follows the main character and his dog going through kind of this story of the afterlife almost.
Oh.
And
neat.
There's a red tail, which is a fox, and he is kind of like a god-like creature.
Oh.
And he's messed with the main character's world, which is why he's experiencing this kind of afterlife kind of thing. And it is so beautifully colored, and the story is amazing. So I highly, highly recommend giving A Red Tail's Dream a read, because it blew my mind.
Okay.
Obviously, because I love anything folklore, right? So it's that's kind of my thing. But that 10 out of 10. Chef's kiss.
Okay.
And
amazing.
Then the second one that it unfortunately currently is on hiatus because the artist is reworking the story a little bit and redrawing it a little bit. But this was probably the second comic that I ever yes, let's go. And this goes by the title of King's Folly. And it is by the wonderful Whipswill. And just let me pull up my synopsis. Okay. So it's about two princes that escape the fall of their kingdom and delve into the unknown, and the eldest prince, Elliot, holds like this secret to stopping the never-ending nightmare that's like chasing them and like kind of like eating away at their world kind of thing.
Yo, that sounds badass as shit.
I know. Currently, the comic is still up in like its original form, so you can go through and read it. There's
okay.
like, I want to say 5 chapters. Each chapter is like 50 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hefty piece of literature right there, and like it is so good. You will instantly fall in love with all of the characters, and just the amount of like foreshadowing that like goes into like the first little bit, and then like you like come back to it and I'm like, oh, okay, whew. You are gonna want to keep reading more.
Hell
I
yeah.
promise.
It sounds really interesting. That's awesome. I like how, especially those first two from you are very much like, all right, that's Kira's vibe. 100%. I can see why those are on her list. These two, the Freaking Romance and Siren's Lament, I find are kind of two of the outliers for me because they were like, I downloaded Webtoons and I just kind of scrolled through the welcome page, but I was like, oh, these are just really cool, really well done stories.
I had originally found King's Folly on Tumblr.
Oh, the good old days.
I saw some cover art for it and I'm like, huh, what's this? And
click.
Then I fell down a hole.
Down the rabbit hole we go. All right, so I guess I'll go with another 2. We'll do this. We'll do two and two. Yeah, we'll figure it out on the fly.
All right.
Actually, the next 2 I'm going to mention is going to include the one that I think is on both of our lists.
Okay.
But they're also probably fall more under the honorable mention category. But they are ones that I have greatly enjoyed. But they are more public. They both have been adapted into physical comics. The first one is the very well-known, especially after its Netflix adaptation, Heartstoppers. So that's not the one that I think is on both of our lists. It's this next one. Heartstoppers, for those that might not know what it is about these 2 boys in, I think they're high school? Are
Yes.
they high school? Yeah. 2 boys in high school, Charlie and Nick, and it's all about coming out and learning how to be comfortable in figuring out your own sexuality and, you know, finding your people and finding your comfort. And as somebody who spent a lot of my adult life figuring out my own sexuality and shit, it was nice how, it's also by Alice Osman. You can find that on Webtoon, on her own pages, on everywhere pretty much.
I think it's also on Tapas.
Tapas, yeah. Yeah, so as somebody who struggled with kind of figuring out my own shit for a while, it was cool to see that portrayed in both a serious way, but not in a made fun of or over exaggerated or whatever. It's, you know, it was
very real.
Very real way. Yeah, all of it in general, like even getting into the later portion, she touches on some mental health issues and stuff like that within the comic. And like, I find she just does a really nice job of touching on these important things without it being like, oh, it's a comic about gays and like, you know, having it be like the trope is that it's a gay comic. It's about kids and figuring out their life and figuring out their sexuality and figuring out their own mental health and you know, even dealing with family members that are shitty about it and stuff like that. And yeah, I just think it's phenomenally done. So that's a very common one that most people out there know. And the next one touches on a little bit of mythology. And it is called Lore Olympus. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah, Lore Olympus.
Lore Olympus. It is still ongoing.
Yes. You can buy physical copies of it.
You can buy physical copies of it. It is by Rachel Smith. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Again, Webtoons, Tapas, her own web pages and things like that of physical copies if you want to get those. It's all about the story about Persephone. She is the main character, and it talked about her life and her dealings. And Kira and I had talked about this one a little one-on-one because Kira is a huge Greek mythology nerd.
Yes.
And she's going to teach me all about Greek mythology, and I'm very excited for it. So I didn't know if it was super accurate or if it wasn't, which I've now learned that there are a lot of main points in the comic that are, as true to mythos as you can be.
Yes,
which I think is very cool.
Like slightly differently, but like the like overall like vibe of what's going on does chronologically make sense.
Which I think is a phenomenal thing to be able to do as a writer, is to keep it as close to truth as you have access to, but also still be able to put your own fun little spin on it, which I think is really cool. So yeah, those are two probably more popularly known ones that were also on my list.
Okay.
Which I'm assuming that's also Crossing Lore Olympus off of yours.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the one that was like I meant to add to my list, but I forgot kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, that was also the only one that we actually talked about in person as well. Because we kept the rest of our lists quiet from each other.
True. So I'm going to go with two that are currently published right now, kind of thing,
Cool.
physical copies.
Ooh.
One of them did start out as a webcomic, and also kind of has a mythology vibe.
Ooh.
Which, shocking, I know.
Right?
So very shocking. So out of character. This one is called Icarus and the Sun.
Oh, I think I've heard of this one.
Yeah, and it's by Gabriel Piccolo. I
Okay.
probably butchered his last name. I'm sorry. And it follows the story of Icarus, who, if you know anything about mythology, he is part of... He flew too close to the sun with wax wings and died, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Melted a little.
But instead of like going with like the traditional route of it, it follows Icarus and his girl, well, at the time, ex-girlfriend, the sun, and their relationship together.
That's a really interesting way of
I will let you borrow.
Twisting it. Yeah, please.
I'll let you borrow.
Please do.
Because, like, it was... I'm trying to, like, articulate how, like, interesting, like, the, like, taking it from a different standpoint of, like, you can tell, like, within, like, the mythos, is, like, Icarus wanted to be free, and he wanted to get as far away as possible and, like, as close to freedom as possible, and that meant flying high. So, when you take that into the dimension of relationships and what can happen and how, like, all that... I just find it very fascinating, and I'm not usually a romance kind of person, but that story just kind of oomphed.
Got right in there.
And the second one I'm going to talk about is a little bit more, it might be more well known purely for the author. It's called You Look Like Death by Gerard Way.
I feel like I should know that name, but I don't.
If y'all don't know who Gerard Way is, he is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he
wrote a comic?
He's wrote several, honey. He's currently with like a comic book thing too. Like it's based in like the world of the True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, which is like his main comic kind of thing, which is where Danger Days, the whole album, came from. All the concept for it is because of that. He's also wrote The Umbrella Academy.
He wrote Umbrella Academy?
Yes.
Okay, don't yes me like that. Everybody knows that. Although, I mean, I feel like most people do know that. But also, I don't... Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, so... Me being the edgy, emo kid that I was...
Fair.
No, I say that. I was not very emo. But I did like My Chemical Romance. But, just... The... Like, You Look Like Death is an interesting, like, look into his world for the Killjoys. And kind of, like, a little bit of, like... It bounces back and forth between, like, two different realities of, like, what's happening in one space, and then kind of, like, a weird alternate future. and eventually they come together.
Interesting.
Yes. Which I also have a physical copy of that if you'd like to borrow it.
Yeah. I love webcomics, like I said, but also if you got a physical copy that I can sit down on the couch and on like a Sunday morning just binge through the entire thing in one morning, I love it.
You would be able to binge this. Like,
Amazing.
as soon as, like, I picked it up on, like, one of the times where there was, like, power outage and just fucking went with it. I was like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, that one of the comics on my list, I got caught up on the physical copies that I have because our power went out for the hurricane, like, a month or so ago.
Yeah. Okay, Emily.
Oh, it's me again. Right. Okay, so I'm actually going to mention 3.
Okay.
Because these ones are physical copies that I've been reading that I don't actually know a whole lot about. I'm 99% sure they're, well, one of them I don't know a whole lot about. It went around, there was a mini movie that came out about it, and I thought, oh, that's cute. And then I immediately saw it at Chapters the next time I went, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And now I thought it was done, but new volumes keep coming out, but I haven't really dug too deep into finding it online. But it is a manga, technically, or a BL, I guess more specifically. It is called Seaside Strangers. It is absolutely adorable. I love it. It's all about this... I want to say there's kind of 2 main characters, but they are together. So one of the main characters is a writer that kind of stayed in his... like, that is... has moved away from home, away from his parents, been working on this little island. He does different articles and stuff for whatever writing company he works for. And at the beach one day ends up meeting this other guy, and now I'm blanking on remembering it completely. And but basically, like, they kind of go back and forth, and they end up meeting each other. And the one younger guy is very much like, he's like, oh, you're cute, I like you. And the other guy's like, no, you don't. And he's like, yeah, but I do. And he's like, yeah, but you don't. And they kind of have this back and forth, and then they eventually, you know, have the cute climactic moment or whatever. But anyway, it's also interesting because there's little bits of backstories that it's starting to get into now, of like, the older one is gay and has been gay. He's known it kind of his entire life, and it kind of gives flashbacks, like, into when he was in elementary school and how poorly he was treated because of it and things like that. And the younger one kind of has a different aspect where he's like, he's lost his family and has kind of been living on his own for a while. And he's kind of like, I don't care. It's kind of in the sense of, you know, I've lost my family, but, you know, you're cool. I like you. We've been growing together. And like, it's kind of cool to see the 2 different dynamics in the characters that they have, but then they're like together and they're super cute together and everything. So it's one that's like a little out there, and I think some of the translation from it is a little, like, some of the message gets a little muffled, but it is like saran wrapped BL, if that makes sense to anybody. So
okay.
it does get a little smutty. So I'll just put that out there as well. And like, the art style is really cute and stuff too. So there's that one. There's obviously, for anybody that knows me personally, Haikyuu is my fucking jam. I love that shit. I don't own all of it. I've watched all the anime a million times, sub-dubbed, whatever, the movies, everything. I've reread the manga enough times. It's not even funny. And I'm now currently working on collecting all of the physical copies. That, out of all of these, is probably my number 1. But when I think Haikyuu, I think anime more than I do the manga, because I started out watching the anime. But 100% my favorite part is the end of the manga, because it gets into this whole time skip and everything, and that's my favorite section of the show, and that's not animated yet. So I just live in the last like 6 volumes of the manga, just being like, someday you will be brought to life, that we get to view you on a TV screen. Actually, we're getting 2 movies, which is kind of a bummer, but anyway, it's a whole debate in the fandom. Anyway, so those 2 are more on the manga translation side and things like that. But then, one of my other ones that actually they're next... So this is the one that is after a podcast. The podcast itself, I'm actually looking at my comic shelf right now, and I'm looking at the specific ones I'm talking about. So I'm wondering if you can take a guess at which one I'm gonna. What one do you think I'm about to talk about?
I can't read because I'm not wearing my glasses. But I think I'm gonna say the wrong one.
Try it. It's okay.
Is it Demon Slayer?
No, very close. A Demon Slayer is another one-off. Well, I keep saying one-off an anime. No, it started out as the manga and then it gets adapted into an anime. Anyway, you're gonna go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense as soon as I say this. But the podcast that this
You did say podcast.
I did.
Jesus.
It's okay. I was just talking about one that was with an anime, so the confusion makes sense. The podcast that this comic is being made after is complete. So if you want to go back and listen to the podcast, I am currently on my 6th listen through ever of it because I love to listen to it at work. It is the Adventure Zone.
You have talked about it.
Yes. So one, I would love for you to listen to the podcast. Because obviously if you're taking a podcast, which is, there's 70 something hours worth of podcast for the balance arc. So obviously when you're taking all that content and putting it into a comic form, you're not going to get it word for word.
Yeah.
So they have done an amazing job at obviously adapting the important parts. And then I've also noticed in the newer adaptations, because it kind of happens in different arcs. So it's different story beats that they're going through. And I've noticed in the newer arcs where in the podcast, they kind of run a little longer because there's more things that are happening. There's bigger events that happen. They've done a really interesting way of picking the key points. And I can't remember the authors for Haikyuu and Seaside Strangers. I will have to look it up and I'll tag it in socials and stuff. But the Adventure Zone is the McElroy brothers and Carrie Perch. I murdered that. I'm sorry. Carrie, for sure, is her first name. She's the artist who has done all the artists. So Clint McElroy, who is the father of the group, he has been the one that's worked hand in hand with Carrie to kind of create the comic adaptation. The brothers, have their bits and pieces, but Clint has kind of been the main one to basically go back and re-listen to the entire podcast and pick out those key points, make sure that, the character design and stuff is how they want it and all that kind of fun stuff. So they're currently working on the 5th book, which is supposed to come out in February, which I'm very excited for. Obviously, some things for them got delayed during the pandemic. But the 5th arc is actually one of my favorite arcs in the podcast, so I'm very excited to see the comic version of it. So I can't even begin to really explain everything that these comics capture, but the main overarching theme of Adventure Zone is a D&D Let's Play podcast. So it's about the 3 brothers. Griffin is the DM. And so it's about Justin and Travis and their dad playing Magnus Merlin Taco, who is a fighter, a cleric, and a wizard. And it's about their adventures through the world. Griffin came up with an absolutely amazing story to lead them through. And this was their first time they ever played D&D. So I think I had mentioned to you in person before, it was the first D&D podcast I had listened to.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it because it helped me learn D&D kind of with them as I was learning it. And then it just set me off down the rabbit hole of now I listen to far too many D&D podcasts. But they're all super entertaining, so it's worth it. So they've done an absolutely amazing job with that. You can get physical copies now. They have their own McElroy merch website that you can check out. Also, they're sold at pretty much any bookstore you can think of. I was kind of surprised to see it in Indigo.
I don't know. Every time I go in, I always see an Adventure Zone book.
Yeah, I when they first started putting them out, I was kind of surprised to see it right away.
Yeah.
But first something is the publishers for it. And I can't remember exactly what it is, but anyway, there are many different ways that you can order it. Just check out the McElroy Brothers or McElroy Family Productions. They're all over Twitter and all that fun stuff, and you can get the physical copies, or you can check out the Adventure Zone on anywhere you listen to podcasts and listen to the podcast. yeah, those are my next three that I kind of grouped together.
Okay. Those are like really good options. First of all,
I wanted to. Well, those were the three that I kind of added in at supper because I had most of mine were like webcomics or like ones that you could only really find online, and then I was like, I want to try to find ones that are more not necessarily hard copy only, but like the hard copy is more of what you want. Although Adventure Zone, unless it's the full podcast you're listening to, comic wise, you can only get it hard copy. So that's the only one on my list that is only hard copy.
That's fair. Okay, I'm trying to think of what order I want to do this in now. I'm going to choose three, obviously, to talk about. So I guess first one I will talk about is I believe it was originally just no, I might be lying. I'm going to say it probably started out as a webcomic and then got printed.
Gotcha.
Because I think that's what it was, and for a very long time, it's been my favorite piece of media.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the movie.
Movie? Oh, I think I know where this is going.
It shaped a lot of my middle school years.
Ah, yes, I know exactly where this is going.
You gotta know it, baby. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the motherfucking world.
That's 100% not where I thought it was going. But, oh my god, yes, I completely forgot about Scott Pilgrim. For some reason, I immediately went, oh, Percy Jackson.
Oh, no, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other fixation. We'll get to that in another episode.
But, yeah, no, Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley.
Fucking fantastic.
My first exposure to it was the movie. I will say that. But literally just like
head first deep dove into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, Chicky, she had the physical copies of the books.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, Chicky.
Gimme.
Let me, I want it. Because I remember her telling me about the comic. And then, this is going to sound weird. We had seen the trailer for the movie when it was like coming out kind of thing. And we were just like, oh honey, now we need to see this now. And so if you don't know, Scott Pilgrim is obviously a Canadian comic series. Like, besides the fact it being based in Toronto, the artist is Canadian.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Like, so, you know, we love supporting.
Represent, baby.
We love it.
We love it. We love the Canadians, considering we are two of them.
Yes. If you haven't read Scott Pilgrim, highly recommend either consuming it in comic form or in its movie form, if you can find it, because for some odd reason they keep taking it off of Netflix.
That's stupid.
I know. I was ready to punch the TV.
I have the vinyl soundtrack.
Ooh.
And I love it.
Last time Emily was at my place, she noticed my box set.
I did. I love the art style on it.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good.
All right. So, next up is another one that I really love, and it is currently ongoing, and it's getting turned into physical copies.
Oh, okay.
I am currently, because I jumped on it when it was on pre-order, and I'm currently waiting for it to be printed, and it should be here in February.
Ooh.
And
man, we're both gonna have new comics in February.
I know.
We're gonna have like a let's sit down and ignore each other on the couch while we read our new comics.
Yes.
Day.
I'm currently getting volume 1.
Ooh.
Because that's where the artist had like just started printing it, kind of thing.
Right.
It goes by the name of Countdown to Countdown.
Oh.
And it is by Valinksy, who we love. Alright, so the summary is Iris Black, A young man that possesses the special ability to bring drawings to life is sheltered in a correctional facility that houses other gifted people like him. Outcasted for his inability to suppress his powers, he yearns to find himself a space where he can use his powers freely. His chances come one night when a daring outsider sneaks into the lab.
Oh, shit. That sounds interesting.
Yes, I love this story so much. So like the main character, Iris, and another main character, Lilium, they first of all, they're adorable together kind of thing, in my opinion.
Amazing.
They're not together, but like
A little coded to be together.
I want them to be together.
Ship it. We ship it hard, baby.
I do. And so like the whole like one thing about the characters that is kind of important to the story is that they are classified as demiflora, which are like the people with like the special abilities.
Oh.
And all of them are kind of like separated into flower categories, which sounds really weird, but it makes so much sense.
I love it.
It's great. Highly recommend. You can find it on the first volume you can find on Webtoon.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you'd have to go to the Countdown to Countdown website, which is hosted
Gotcha.
by Hiveworks, which I recommend because after volume 1 it gets a little more graphic and like, you know, like maturity warning kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So next up I'm gonna go for one of my more slice of lifey ones.
Okay.
Because it's cute.
Awesome.
It is called Mondo Mango, and it is by The Cow.
Amazing.
I've been reading him since like the beginning of high school kind of thing, and it just follows him, like the actual artist, doing dumb.
Oh, it's literally him.
Yeah, doing dumb things. Well, not dumb, but you know, experiencing life how he experiences it.
So like our podcast.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's great, and just his whole like demeanor and like attitude towards life is like it makes you feel hopeful. Like I just like see like they're like 4-panel drawings. They're like, it's not like a congruent like overall arcing story kind of thing. It's just like little bits and pieces.
Okay.
So like you can literally pick it up wherever you want. But if you want just a little comic to feel good about yourself, well, I recommend.
So it's kind of like a Sarah Scribbles or something where they're kind of like self-contained comics rather than like
Yes.
full comic stories.
Yes.
Love that shit. Speaking of, not Sarah, never mind. I might cut that out because I thought, did she do
If you're talking about
the cryptid book that we got? That's
yeah,
not.
yes, because Sandra I can't speak. Sarah Anderson is her full name. She also wrote Fangs, and that.
She does Sarah Scribbles and the what is it even called? Cryptid Club.
Yeah.
We both just bought that after. It was funny. I went into Indigo after we recorded our cryptid episode and immediately saw that book and was like, oh, well, I have to get it.
Yeah.
And it is wonderful.
It is, like, I've skimmed through it.
Okay, so I was right. I don't have to cut that.
Yeah.
Future Emily editing.
If by some chance I did actually make an error in saying that it was, sorry.
Whoops.
But no, Mondo Mango is very much in the realm of Sarah Scribbles and can be found literally anywhere.
Cool.
Also, if you just want to like go on like Instagram and find them, they're there.
Okay. Okay, so how many are left on your list? Because you added one, so are we both at 13?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've been trying to figure out how I want to wrap mine up.
I have 5 left.
Okay, I do too. Cool. I'm gonna go with 2 next.
Okay.
And then I have 3 that I'm currently reading that I'm like very much obsessed with and I'm keeping up with as much as possible. And I'm going to leave those 3 for last.
Okay.
You don't have to go in the same order as me if you don't want to, but just giving you the heads up.
Okay.
So, my next 2, my first one is called Boyfriends. It is by Refrainbow. You can find them on Webtoon and I think Tapas and stuff like that too. They are currently on hiatus for a little bit, according to Webtoon, which I just looked at. But it is a comic about getting yourself a boyfriend or multiple boyfriends. 4 college students begin a polyamorous relationship and navigate the adventure that is their dating life. Their art style is fucking adorable. They have 4 boyfriends, and they all like have full names and stuff, but they kind of
Are they like the ones that are like classified as like preppy boyfriends?
Yes. So there's prep, jock, nerd, and goth. And
okay, I've seen some of like the animations on TikTok.
they're just fucking adorable, and I love it so much. So that's one of my more. There is a underlying story through most of them, but they are also kind of like, if you randomly pick one up, you're not going to have like the entire thing spoiled for you. They are a little more self-contained, but the art style is absolutely adorable. I love the general, just kind of like living life day to day, slice of life bit to it. The polyamory representation is pretty cool too. It's cute. Yeah, that's that one. It's fucking adorable. I can't get over the art style. It's one of my favorite art styles for the comics that are on my list. And the other one is a BL. If you've noticed, I read a lot of gay comics because, I don't know, that's just what I started with, and it's just stuck around, I guess. This one is one that I don't... It's another one that's not a natively English-made comic. So I currently get it off of, like, a Manga Buddy reading site. So I don't fully know who the official author is, so I don't want to give any credit in case I get it wrong. I will do my best to find out and tag that in the posts that we make later. But it is called Dangerous Convenience Store.
Yeah,
and
I'm confused.
Let me tell you, it gets so good. So it starts out with being like this college student kid. I say kid, this college student guy. And he's going to college. He's working his nights and his weekends in a convenience store. You know, obviously, convenience stores, sometimes you see some violence, you see some dumb shit. You have to deal with horrible people.
Yes.
And it's basically like there's this one guy that comes in that buys like the same 2 things, like the same time of day, the same day of the week kind of thing. And he's like this big, buff, attractive looking dude. And like one time when he comes in, like some shit goes down and he helps out the worker kind of thing. And then I don't exactly remember how because I started reading it so long ago, but the big buff guy kind of is like a bit of Yakuza mafia shit going on with him. So he's kind of like Mr. Tall, Dark, and Mysterious. And the worker like ends up going out to like thank him or whatever. And like just kind of, he's like the tall, dark, and stoic and like doesn't say much or whatever, but he kind of just like eventually keeps poking at him until he like gets him to talk. And then he's like, why, like it's kind of this whole thing of like the big buff guy's like, wait, why am I getting this tingly feeling in my belly when this little guy comes and talks to me? And it's just like, and the story evolves into like, it gets really intense and really interesting, and it starts out as just kind of like this funny little like, oh, you think it's just going to be a bit of like some smut going on here and there and a bit of like them being cutesy in life and whatever, but then like you get to learn more about like the Yakuza guy's background and some of the shit that he's done. And there's a character that the college kid goes to school with that is like kind of an coded character, so like there's some shit that happens there, and then there's like drama that gets added, and oh boy, it gets good, real good. Yeah, so those are those 2. I will have to figure out, some of these I'm realizing I've really enjoyed them, but it's been a while since I've gone back and got caught up on what's happening, so I'm like, oh no, what have I missed? But okay, I'm going to leave it there, and then I have my last 3 I'll talk about after.
Okay. So I guess the next two I'm going to talk about are kind of polar opposites of each other.
Amazing. We love diversity.
So, the first one I'm going to talk about, I haven't managed to catch up on it in a while because it's unfortunately one of the ones that I've been too busy reading other things and just working on my own stuff.
Kind of rolled under the table.
Yes. I am so scared to butcher the title, so I very much apologize in advance. It's sad because it's only one word, but I know I'm gonna butcher it so bad.
Hey, it's okay. It happens.
Okay. It's called Refame.
Refame?
Refame?
Okay.
REPHAIM.
Reframe?
Yeah.
Refame?
That's as close as I'm gonna get.
Cool. All right. Sounds good.
And it's by Brie Pie. You can find it on Webtoon and on their own website, kind of thing. And the plot is something else. So Andy is a simple guy who has a simple life that was unfortunately ruined when he was murdered by an undead monster. Instead of dying, he finds himself making a deal with an ominous being and waking to find his shadow is now host to a foreign entity.
Oh, shit.
Burdened with the impossible task, he dives into the obscure, enigmatic, and the unknown, uncovering the truth of the reframe that initiated his misfortune and that of his entire existence. I remember when I was really getting into it, I believe that it is, and quote, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong if you've read this comic before, but I believe in one of the Q&As that the artist did, they said that it was lightly based on Jewish culture.
Oh, interesting.
Again, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
My memory is failing me at the moment. But I highly recommend. Just a warning before you do read it, it is gruesome. There is a lot of blood. Obviously, there's death. If you are not in a good headspace, do not read it.
Okay.
Just putting that out there.
Good warning to have out there for sure.
Yeah. It's a great comic. Just prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next one is called Humor Me. And it is
Humor Me. Cute.
and it's by Marvin W. I originally found them on Tapas.
Cool.
I now read them on Webtoon because sometimes they update a little bit more frequently on Webtoon. It depends on the week.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlie's goals in life are pretty simple. Get her high school diploma, become a legal adult, take care of her 4-year-old way to liberate brother, and make sure that social services don't realize their dad has run away. So grabbing the unfortunate interest of famous James Hardford sure wasn't one of her plans, especially when he, like everyone else apparently, thinks she's a boy.
Oh. I see the gender question theme in here. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, it is adorably cute. It is a black and white comic. Which,
cool.
Most of the comics I read are very, very colorful.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about the lack of color that just kind of drives the story for me, almost. Like the art style is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But, the simplicity of, not having everything bold and, in-your-face color makes it almost more enjoyable to
You're
the story.
focusing more on the comic than you are, the picture, if that makes sense.
Yes. You're really getting to, the essence of the story. And, like Charlie goes to a private school and is enrolled as a boy because he got a scholarship as a boy.
Why is this giving me She's the Man vibes a little bit?
I don't know. Like, it's an interesting one.
Okay,
and
I dig it.
Again, very cute. The last update that I read was like really, really cute, and I think we're starting to get into some territory that I'm like, oh, like, I know I don't want you together, but I know it's gonna happen, but it's also cute, but also no, Charlie.
No, don't do it.
So, highly recommend. You'll get some, if you want some feel good content. I'd read Humor Me.
Cool. Okay, Humor Me. That's definitely one I'm gonna mark down for later. Okay, so final 3. I'm leaving the biggest one I actually want you to read. I'm gonna leave for the absolute last. So, first of my final 3 to mention is one I actually found through TikTok, which is actually kind of a fun story. They had these OCs built that they, just kind of made little bits and pieces on TikTok and posted them and Instagram and all that kind of fun stuff. And they basically had, I might get some of the background of this story wrong, but from what I've understood through TikTok is they had bits and pieces of a story planned out in their mind, but didn't have like a full comic planned. And basically through posting the bits and pieces on TikTok, it blew up enough that so many people demanded and wanted to see a full webcomic and a full story that they ended up doing just that and created it. So it is on Webtoons, Tapas. They have a Patreon where you can get early access to episodes and stuff. And it is called Promise Me Nothing by, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but it's Helena? KHELINAE _ is their name on Webtoon, which is what I'm currently looking at. They would go back and forth between making like super angsty posts to making super funny posts on Twitter and everything, and like basically have teased the entire story back and forth of like, will they end up together? Won't they end up together? But the summary is, promises are easy to make but hard to keep. Alex swore to himself he would never fall in love again after his past relationship. But hey, I guess even promises made to ourselves are hard to keep. So the biggest, which won't be a big spoiler because it's literally in the first episode that like this is brought up. But one of the TikToks that really blew up was that whole, I can't remember exactly what audio it was, but it's basically like, oh, can we get a big round of applause for the happy couple? And it's like the guy and another guy in a suit, but then it pulls out and there's the guy in the suit and a bride next to him and them walking away and the main character Alex just being there. So it was like, it shows them being all cute and lovey-dovey and whatever, and then it shows him being his best man at his wedding. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is already such a, like, how did he end up there kind of situation? Like, how did he go from being the boyfriend to being the best man at a wedding for him to some woman? So, like, that was one of the first ones that drew me in, and I was like, okay, I need to know more about these characters. And then she introduces, I won't give names, but then she introduces the new potential love interest in the story, and it's all like, he's full hook, line, and sinker from the get-go. But then Alex, the main character, is like, exactly like the summary said, he's like, no, I'm never falling in love again. And so they would forever tease back and forth where they would show like cutesy moments of them together and then super angsty shit, and the comments would just be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this to us? And I just always found it so entertaining. So 9 times out of 10 I check their TikTok more than I check the actual webtoon. But so that's one of the newer ones. That's only on episode 17, so it just started like within this year, within the last 6 months. So that one's very new, obviously still ongoing. The next one is another one that's ongoing that I don't remember how I came across this one. I feel like it was also TikTok, but it is called Eyes on Me. It's on Webtoon and Tapas. I mostly read it on Tapas. Again, they also have Patreon if you want early access to episodes and things like that, or just support your artists that you enjoy. So Eyes on Me is by Looney Twin. Loony, twin. This comic is about a boy, Evan, who forgets his keys at his friend's house. On his way to find them, I read that horribly wrong. Try that again. This comic is about a boy, Evan, who forgets his keys at his friend's house. On his way to find them, he didn't expect to find such a cute guy at the door. Even less for said guy to be half naked and interested in him for some reason. And this is another one where, like, the main character is super adorable and it's a bit, like, hesitant for the new relationship because as it's getting into it, it's, like, hinting, even, like, right from the get-go, there's hints of, like, a toxic ex that, like, disappears for a while, then comes back and kind of fucks up main character's life for a bit and then disappears again. So It's got some fun little drama going on there. I'm all about the romance ones, apparently. But anyway, the last one, which is one that I really want you to read, is called The Hunt by Lucid, Lucid.
Okay.
And this one, again, can be found Webtoon, Tapas, whatever. But I actually read it if you just go thehuntcomic.com. You can find it on their own website. And it is... I'm going to go to Webtoon to get the synopsis for it. But this one gets spicy as well. It is a BL 18+. Avery and Riz rekindle their middle school hobby of hunting ghosts in their senior year of college. Avery wants to join the super elite paranormal investigators club, Ghost Encounters Inc., while Riz is as skeptical as he is adverse to full moons. Slowly but surely, they uncover the haunting secrets of their local abandoned asylum as well as their feelings for one another. You're giving me a look like you know what I'm talking about.
I think I've attempted to read this before.
Oh, yeah? It's so good.
Like, I'm probably thinking of the wrong thing, but...
I don't know. Hold on, I'm just going to show you.
It sounds very familiar.
Page 1, it starts out black and white.
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm thinking of something else, and now I'm thinking. I think I know what the name of it is, but it surprisingly isn't on my list.
But also 100% main character, Avery, fully gives me in general you vibes. Like, I feel like you would relate with Avery very well. I think you would very much enjoy it. But yes, so definitely go check that one out. And that's it. I'm again sitting here staring at my comic shelf. There's a million other ones that I could recommend, and we didn't even touch on fanfics. We both the look Kira just gave me. We discussed that fanfics is going to be a whole separate episode because I've literally at this point I've read so many they have all bled together.
Yeah,
But oh boy, that'll be like 18+. Don't let your kids listen to this one.
I mean, I can't say it. When I read fan fiction, it is very fluff.
I guess I go for the smut. If I'm reading a fanfic, I want that. I say that. Not all the time. Some of the like longer form ones have been smut. Don't give me that look. Me and
Chicky.
No, not even Chicky. Have we given Bab's partner a nickname?
Not yet.
Or were we just calling them Eve?
I guess we are now.
Well, I can cut that out if we're not.
I think
Eve. I mean, it's also my D&D character's name currently.
I'm sure Eve is fine.
Okay, we'll go with Eve. It doesn't really give you much to go off of anyway. We have bonded over not only haiku, but specifically a few haiku fanfictions. Oh boy. Some of them are good. And not even like the fact that like not even topic wise that it is smut, but just how well the smut is written is like anyway. Like I said, whole other topic. I could rant for days about them.
It's a different episode altogether. Let's just say, like, we both consume a lot of media, and it's just trying to like narrow it down to even what we have currently was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna get to my last three.
Yes, let's hear them.
So one of them is unfortunately on a hiatus. I don't know if it's ever going to come back. It makes me a little sad because the premise was very interesting.
Okay.
It makes me nervous because the last update was in 2020.
Oh, not looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little...
But you never know. I was reading a fanfic that hadn't updated for like 4 years, and then the person was like, yeah, sorry, I've been battling cancer, but I'll update soon. And I'm like, whoa, okay, no, you have more important things to be dealing with. Anyway, sorry.
I do think that on their Twitter, or not Twitter, Jesus, Instagram, they do occasionally do something related to this comic.
Okay, fun.
But you can find it on Webtoon. It's called How to Get Rid of the Cat Head. I know, it sounds very disturbing.
Not necessarily disturbing. It's a very intriguing title.
Yes. So, the summary, and I'm probably going to have to explain a little bit afterward.
Okay.
But, so the summary is, I've got an animal head. What's the worst thing that could happen? Following a group of friends in the small town of Harefield, hoping to get rid of a strange phenomena that began in the area.
So literal cat head?
Okay, so explanation time. Just a brief one. So these teenagers, I'll wake up one day with these type of like animal head masks that no one else around them can see except for the people that have these masks.
Interesting.
And it kind of stands for like this like metaphorical like burden that they have to overcome kind of thing.
Oh.
And they all meet in kind of like a group therapy session.
I love the symbolism of that.
Yeah. And the main character, Kathy, has a cat head. And her mask is a lot more big than everyone else. Everyone else is kind of like whittled it down to like just a face mask kind of thing through overcoming things. But hers is more of a mascot head kind of deal.
Oh, shit.
So it goes through her journey and what happens.
I always love in any form of media that sort of symbolism of like, here's a physical representation of the shit that you're going through, but you're ignoring going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And the therapist can't really pinpoint why everyone is experiencing this that goes to this group therapy session, because no one really wants to open up. You know, classic teenager stuff. And it's very interesting to me. The next one I have to do a lot of catching up on. I feel bad for not catching up on it. It is one of the ones I can actually classify as a BL, in my opinion.
Right.
And it is Castle Swimmer by Wendy Leanne Martin. And my god, is it cute. So, basically, like, the summary is, what happens when your entire life is ruled by a prophecy? Your future foretold by people you've never met, who died long before you were born. Such is a story of two young sea creatures, one believed to be the guiding light for his people, a beacon who will lead them to a bright, prosperous future. The other, a teenage prince, for whose destiny is to kill the beacon so that his own people might thrive.
Some star-crossed lover shit.
When both reject the course set before them, it leads to a raucous adventure as big and as unpredictable as the ocean itself, and a romance that nobody could have predicted.
Ooh!
It is really cute.
Okay.
So, like, there's different types of mermaids, basically. One of the main characters, Siren, is a shark prince mermaid.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not really sure what our other main character...
Goldfish.
I think it might... Like, he's very shiny. He's very shiny. He's got a very shiny tail. There's a reason why they call him the Beacon.
Maybe rainbow fish.
Yes. I feel bad because his name is escaping my mind right now.
It's okay.
But
Read it to find out.
it is available on Webtoon,
Perfect.
and it is very cute.
Very cute. Very, very cute.
And the last one, I didn't save any of like my like big shocking one. I kind of was like, I'm gonna recommend all of the ones I've like read it now.
Yeah, no,
earlier.
100%. It was mainly like The Hunt was just, it's been the most recent one I've been reading, and I was just like, Kira would vibe with this hardcore. So I was like, I'll leave that for last.
Okay.
But I think you would also enjoy any of the other
Oh
ones.
yeah, I'm going to look them all up.
Hell yeah.
The last one on my list was introduced to me once again by Chicky,
Cool.
and it is called Nimona, and it is by B.D. Stevenson,
Oh.
and it was originally a webcomic,
Okay.
not on Webtoon or on Tapas, just like its own like hosted thing.
Okay.
And now it's like a physical book. Unfortunately, if you're gonna read it online, they only have probably the first half of the chapter on there before you actually have to buy a book.
Oh, okay.
So it is a little sad
Mm.
if you can't find the book.
Right.
But the story follows Nimona, a shapeshifter who joins the villain Ballister Blackheart in his plans to destroy the over-controlling Institute.
Ooh.
And Blackheart tries to operate under his own code of ethics,
Mm-hmm.
while Pneumonia has no problem with killing.
Hell yeah.
So she's a bit of a wild child.
Love
We
the
her.
reckless vigilante.
Yes.
Wicked.
And I currently have the physical copy.
Amazing.
I had been searching for it for a long time after I had read that like first half of the chapter, and like this was during like a time where I didn't get to see Chicky very often because we were in two different towns, very far away from each other.
Fair.
So like I couldn't be like, hey, can I borrow this because I know you have it?
Yeah. Hey, can I come 5 minutes down the road to swap comics with you? Like.
No, this was when I was in college, right? So like instead of like
Yeah, like you wouldn't be able to do
yeah.
the like, hey,
Yeah.
can I come? Yeah.
Yeah, I should preface, me and Chicky grew up exactly a 5-minute walk away from each other. But yeah, no, I very much recommend it. The style is very like it reminds me of Adventure Time, but like
okay.
not quite.
That makes sense. Chicky really likes Adventure Time, so
She does.
that makes sense.
And yeah, no, I think if you want an interesting read, I do have to finish reading the book. I am not done reading the book. But it is very, very good.
So if there's one thing I've learned this episode, it's that one, we both have read a fair amount, but two, we both have lots of physical copies that we're now going to have to do like comic swaps.
Oh, very much so.
Share some new comics with each other.
I agree. Like, because even I have a lot of, for instance, Gerard Way's works. I have, I'm missing a couple of copies of Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
But if you want to read it at any point,
I think I watched the first season on Netflix and I really
Okay.
enjoyed it. So yeah, I might take you up on that.
yeah,
I'm going to shove Adventure Zone comic like volume 1 in your hands today when I take you home. And
okay. If you want to wait in my driveway for a second, I will bring you Icarus in the Sun.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Promise me you will not dog-ear my book.
Oh God, never.
Okay.
Oh God, sacrilegious.
Okay.
No.
I'm very particular. That's why I don't loan out my Percy Jackson books.
No, I have bookmarks for a reason.
Oh, okay.
Or I use an old receipt or something. But yeah,
okay.
no. I will never fold your paper.
Oh, okay.
You're good. I never
'Cause,
fold
like,
your books.
Like it's one thing if it was like the graphic novel Percy Jackson books, because like I'm like, okay, yeah, I can always get another one. But if I were to loan you like, say like my actual Percy Jackson books, they don't make those.
That stuff is sacred.
They don't make those copies anymore. That was a different run cover kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
You can't find them anymore.
Damn.
Unless like you like are like searching for them real hard. So I'm like, if you. That was side tangent. That was one of the Percy Jackson books that The
that
salt.
got wet.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
My salt lamp kind of leaked on.
I would have chucked that salt lamp out the window.
I did. It's
Good.
no longer in my home. I had screamed at it for about an hour after doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The book is dry now.
Okay.
It took.
Minimal damage.
It took.
Eh.
The cover is kind of hanging on for sweet life,
Okay.
but it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's cool. It survived. You didn't have
I'm gonna
to toss
get some
it.
glue and I'm gonna fix it.
Yep. You can do a little restoration project. That's fine.
Yeah, but we will swap books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. I like that idea. I have one that's. I need to stop staring at my.
I have to like try to like sit up and like see what like you're looking at.
I'm staring at one. It's between my Heartstopper and I think that's Comey Can't Communicate, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it is.
Is it like the short white one?
Yeah. I
can distinguish color.
Oh, you know what I think it is, which is also another cute one that I started reading, but I didn't even finish the first volume yet. It's Girl on the Other Side.
Okay.
It's about this little girl that basically wanders into the forest and finds like a demon of some sort, I think, and just kind of befriends him. And she just wanders around the forest with this demon guy. I actually don't know if that's the premise at all, but that's kind of the vibe that I've gotten from it. I've only maybe got halfway through the book, but that one's also really cute. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I have way more on my shelf.
Oh my god,
home.
there's so many. We just both need to take a picture of our shelves and just post that as well. Just
See, mine doesn't look as impressive because it's like spread out over like my home theater situation kind of
Fair.
thing, whereas like yours is like a full shelf kind of thing.
Well, mine also just looks fuller because there's some like fucking Haikyuu is 45 volumes. And I don't even have half of them yet. Like the front there, that's all Jujutsu Kaisen. That's 0 to 9.
I
and
mean,
yeah, so there's a lot.
To be fair, my Percy Jackson collection takes up a whole bookshelf by itself.
Yeah.
So I don't normally count that because that's like it's like 20 books.
Yeah, I want a bigger bookshelf also because the one that we currently have is fucking heavy as shit even when it's empty because it's like solid wood. So we don't want to have to move it again.
But like also at the same time it's like nice to have that hardy of it cuz like you got like a nice bookshelf with like the like tall spaces in. Me trying to like fit hardcover graphic novels don't fit on like the shelves that you can get at like Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Like, the equivalent to Lowe's, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Or Home Depot, whatever you want to call it. Like, it doesn't fit on there. It's literally half a centimeter too short.
I fucking hate that so much.
I was like,
dude. Then you gotta lay it down horizontally, and then it's just taking then you gotta stack them, and it's just taking up more room.
I know. I mean, like to be fair, it doesn't help with like two of like my like guidebooks because those are actually like 2 feet tall. Yeah. So there was no way they were gonna fit on any shelf.
I guess. Yeah. That's fair.
But like one of like my hardcover graphic novels is too tall.
Too tall. Yeah, we've recently been getting the Fullmetal Alchemist reprints that they've been doing in hardcover, and oh boy, they're beautiful, but they're different height than regular manga. So it's
we just need to start printing everything at the same size.
Right?
Like, cause like there's like US standard comic, which is 6.5 by 9.
For some reason, I was about to be amazed that you knew that, but then I remembered that's kind of part of like your job is to know that kind of stuff.
I was gonna say that's the standard comic size I use when I'm working on my comic. Yeah,
exactly. Like you also are making your own, and like it's like I was like literally my brain went, oh my god, how does she know that? Then to also wait, yeah, they do a lot of their own work, so that makes sense that you know that.
I do too many things.
Don't we both, man?
Yeah.
Far too many things. Speaking of that, check us out on socials for links. We will post once the episode goes live. We'll probably give it a little bit of time for people to actually listen to it. So, and then we'll post and link as many and as much for the artists as we can.
And if any of the artists, authors, whatever you want to be called, listen to this, we are deeply sorry for butchering any names.
But also, we love your work and thank you very much for all that you do.
Yes, you have provided many, many hours of enjoyment and helped us through a lot of hard times. So thank you very much for existing.
And if you did listen to this, thanks for listening.
Yeah, like, hi!
We hope you liked it.
Yeah. We have nothing but good things to say about you.
On that note, you're going to hate us for this little ditty because we're going to take off and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye! Bye!
Bye.
Hey y'all, we just wanted to pop back in here at the end of the episode and thank you again for listening and let you know where you can find us.
You can find me, Kira, on all social platforms under the name Fish Antlers. I also have an online store. Maybe check it out. It's also called Fish Antlers.
And you can find me, Emily, on all social media platforms under Lil Halfling for my personal account or Seymour Snaps for some photography stuff that is mentioned in quite a few of our episodes. But it's fun to do.
For more Gremlins by Nature, we are on all socials at Gremlins by Nature. We'd love to hear from you guys, so tag us or hashtag the GBN pod or Gremlins by Nature and let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
Or if you have any additional stories or information on things we've already talked about, we want to hear about that too.
You can listen to our episodes every second Friday anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And if you can't find us where you normally listen, let us know and we'll add ourselves there.
Thanks all. Bye.